Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, a collaborative journey with Cresta. We're really happy you've been here with us today. I'm joined with some amazing guests live. My name is Chris Reese. I'm the VP of Customer Success. Please feel free to drop any questions or comments along the way in the chat. We'll be able to answer them live for you. I'll turn it over now if you'd all like to introduce yourselves, the company you work for, and how long you've been a partner with Cresta.
My name is Brian Ennis. I'm with CarMax. We've been a partner with Cresta for a little over 3 years.
Stephanie DeWald. I am the Vice President of Contact Centers, Sales and Retention for Cox, and we've been partners of Cresta for 5 years.
Hi, Phil Coulterman. I'm with Brinks Senior VP of Digital Transformation and IT. We've been partners with Cresta for just going on 2 years now.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I think we have varying stages of the customer maturity cycle, so we'll all be able to talk about that in different ways, which is fabulous. So when we're talking about a journey, obviously there is a part that even predates Cresta, right? A part that your business started looking at what technology do we want to bring into the contact center, and there's different reasons for wanting to do that. The first question I'd love to ask about is around build versus buy. And I hear this come up with companies that I speak to all the time where maybe a tech team is looking to build it themselves versus buying it. Can you talk a little bit about what that journey was like for you all at your company? Brian, can I start with you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So CarMax has built a majority of their technology, and then we went on to an omni-channel experience, and we realized we absolutely had to buy and not build. And so we've always kind of took that approach of looking at what is available in the market versus what should we go and build on our own. And I think the things that CarMax is always focused on is building the things that are super important to our business and to our customers. But the things that make our employees really efficient and effective, we definitely buy that stuff.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
Steph, what about you?
A similar story, right? We wanted to focus our energies on our products and our customers and our customer relationships, and really find a partner that was the expert in that space and let them really build what we needed through a buy relationship versus building it internally.
Phil?
I mean, at Brinks we have some great software development teams. And, the discussion around build versus buy is front and center at the beginning of every journey. But I like to think we're pretty disciplined about looking at the ROI on that. When I think about this space and the work required to develop something as world-class as we get with Cresta, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. This was a very obvious buy scenario for us, and I think it is for most companies.
Great. So it sounds like the conversation has been easy at all of your companies. It's been buy pretty much the whole way through. There wasn't much reluctance to do that, to build it themselves, which is great. But we all know there's plenty of players in the market, and I'm curious, as you made the decision to buy, what were some of the differentiators that you saw with Cresta that made Cresta pull ahead in the pack?
Yeah, I mean, for me, whenever I got to start working as a partner with Cresta, the things that I saw were extremely talented team, very responsive to things that we talked about and needed to be, kind of getting made better over time. And then the speed of innovation has been really great. They absolutely take into consideration what the customer needs and helps them along that journey, which is the reason why you buy instead of building it on your own.
Interesting. Great.
For us at Brinks we have some pretty significant technical challenges, we thought, kind of coming into the experience, and Cresta really made those hard experiences easy on the initial go-around to get the first use cases off the ground and moving. And then, to what you said, we just found Cresta to be an excellent partner and partner with us and continue to keep the flywheel of innovation going.
Mm-hmm. And Phil, were those technical situations things that you had identified early on in the sales cycle with Cresta, things that you presented to other vendors and perhaps weren't getting the response that you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cresta did a great job. We have an on-prem phone system, hard phone system, and a lot of that comes along with the business we're in. We have UL requirements as a home security provider. Cresta did a great job bringing the right people to the table to explain how they would solve those technical challenges and making us really comfortable with that implementation.
Great. And Steph, you also are on hard phones as well. But I'd also like to ask the question. I'd also like to ask the question to you around during the sales cycle. What are some of the things that you saw that allowed Cresta to stand out?
What really stood out was, as compared to some of the other folks that I was talking to, Cresta really illustrated their ability or your ability to create conversational AI, whereas the other groups that I was talking to, it felt like they were producing a product that just followed a script, that it was very say this, ask that, where it was clear that Cresta allowed us to follow the conversation with the customer, right, and ask the questions when it was meaningful or provide answers that were related directly to the conversation that was happening. And I just really didn't see that in the other folks that I was talking to.
No, it sounds like you have a pretty keen eye to be able to catch these things during a live demo. Any recommendations you would give for how to kind of peel back the onion and make sure that folks are evaluating the technology for how usable it's going to be in the business?
So I love involving frontline folks, right, because they do the job, right? So they help identify areas where we might say, well, what would you do if the customer said this instead of that, right? And then being able to illustrate that Cresta was able to do, the other folks were not able to illustrate it in a way where I felt confident that it could pivot along with the customer and the agent as conversations shift and change. They don't follow an A to Z flow.
I agree with all of that. And I think it's also a strength of Cresta when you look at the management of the platform and the ability for those frontline folks to be able to sort of provide feedback and keep the experience innovating. Cresta has a great interface for that and a great way to identify opportunities and then put them into action.
Yeah. I love involving the frontline associates. It's always great because the buy-in happens almost instantly for the new product and a new experience for them. So we definitely always approach it from that standpoint. And, you know, when you're evaluating things, like get it into the wild as fast as you can. So start with a small team and see the product with them and then use it with their customers every day.
You know, the difference also, I would say, is I never heard we can't, right? And I think that is a key win. It was always we can, right? And then we would go figure out if there was something that didn't meet the immediate need. I've never heard from Cresta that we can't come up with a solution. We always come up with a solution.
Well, very powerful. And that speaks, I think, very much to the team that's been assembled, right? Obviously, you talked a little bit about the transparency and the openness and the technology in the sales cycle. Were there parts of the product suite or the platform as a whole that stood out as differentiators from others?
I think the user interface is world-class, and I think it's underrated. You know, when you look at the competitors and the products available in the market, the completeness of the user interface, the stability of the user interface are all strengths that Cresta brings to the table, and really important when you think about the volume of agents and people who are working in the platform on a daily basis.
Yeah, I love it. The agent experience is excellent, but it also has all the tools the managers need behind it with Cresta Director.
Right, and you don't need a certification to understand how to use it, right? So it's just really intuitive, very easy to use, and it's easy to just self-guide yourself, right, through the different, either Cresta Director, right, which I think is just an amazing part of the tool, but even insights, like you can go in and figure out really complex business scenarios with just a few clicks.
Cresta's tool set has really facilitated a great interaction between our operations teams and our technology teams. And we've really put frontline folks front and center in creating the opera workflows and designing the hints and finding those opportunities and keeping that going while we've got the technology teams who are working on the integration space and the telephony space. And it's really been a great partnership.
Steph, you hit on this point directly, and then Phil, I think you spoke about it as well. trying to make the tool complex enough to be able to answer the difficult questions that come up, but also simple to the point that you don't need a degree to be able to use it. Have you found that that balance has been stricken well, in that your teams have been able to do everything that you're trying to do with Cresta?
So yes, I feel like we're in a place where our teams can easily navigate Cresta so they can get the work done that needs to get done, right? So when I think about the director tool and the inputs that our frontline teams have had on the behaviors, right, that we say are important, right? It starts with them. But all of that is easy. We can manage that tool within my team also. I think that's an important piece, is we don't need a separate group to manage the Cresta system, if you will. It can be done by the people that actually do the work, right? So the ones that understand the conversations, understand what the right outcome is of those conversations and how to navigate there, those are the people that do the work within the tool, which I think is a big win, right, for the team, because everything that goes in the tool is very relevant, right, where you're not having someone that doesn't necessarily understand sales or customer experience language being the one behind the keyboard, building, the hints and other things.
I think I find it refreshing that Cresta, not only does Cresta, I feel like, solicit my feedback and listen to what I'm interested in, but actually solicits feedback from the frontline agents and the supervisors who use the tool. And I think that's one of the reasons Cresta has been successful in driving innovation and keeping us moving forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, our operations team can go right to the agent, learn, and actually make changes on their own on the platform. And I think a lot of other companies, it requires a ticket to get some of that stuff done versus allowing the operations team to do it on their own. And the speed, is a big reward for the agents, because they're like, wow, I just gave that feedback and now it's implemented, within days, not months.
Right. And it's an innovative process no matter what, right? And so if we can pack more cycles in by being able to innovate quicker, we're going to have a better product at the end of the day. I'm going to take a step back now and kind of go back to, early days with Cresta, even a little bit, still a little bit pre-Cresta. I know we talked about some of the differentiators that allowed, that in your minds allowed Cresta to kind of stand out from the pack. So in your mind, let's say, hey, I see this company, this is the company I really want to work with. Tell me a little bit more about the decision-making process internally. Was it a struggle to bring in Cresta and to get buy-in from the rest of the organization, or is it something that you felt there was a lot of appetite for already? Steph, maybe I'll start with you.
Sure. Well, we started in 2019, right? We were one of Cresta's first customers with the chat product. And so getting that on board was actually pretty easy because nobody else was doing it, right? But we've been able to leverage the wins with what we've done in chat, right, to help elevate the conversation and seek the approvals that we needed on the voice platform.
Great.
I feel like it was a very straightforward process for us. Our technology teams were on board with Cresta. I have a peer who manages operations. She was on board with Cresta, and then it was just a matter of proving out a successful first use case. And then we were off to the races from there.
Yeah, we were really excited to work with Cresta, and we started in chat just like you guys. And it's been a really great relationship and partnership along the way over the last 3 years. And the Cresta team, like we talked about earlier, is always ready and willing to help you figure out a difficult problem that you may not know how to do on your own.
Uh-huh. So Brian, you talked about starting with chat. When we think about starting, like which group to start with, whether it was chat or voice, or which use case to start with, how did you make that decision? There's a couple different ways you can think about it. Maybe one where there's a lot of pain happening and plenty of opportunity, or maybe one where the agents are going to be more likely to adopt. What was your thinking when you chose your first use case? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think it was like Stephanie said, it was like, hey, there's not a whole lot going on in the chat space. And honestly, I listened to Cresta's advice. they gave us the advice to start there, because then you would actually start seeing how our agents would be able to work with it, and then you could graduate into voice. And I mean, we were in chat in testing, it felt like in 60 days or less. I mean, it was fast, which I think always wins the hearts of technology whenever you can show the value and it's quick.
I think we probably broke the rule. We were in the middle of a transformation with our internal teams, and so we chose not to start with some of our simpler use cases. We started with one of our vendor partners as our first use case. That caused technology challenges, but Cresta helped us overcome those very quickly, and we were up and running very quickly. And I think we've seen some of the best value from Cresta on some of our hardest use cases in terms of the complexity of the question and the tenure of the agent.
Did you think, Phil, there was undue risk that you were taking on by going into one of those use cases, or are you happy with that decision?
It turned out really well. Yeah. So it's always easy to look back and look at success as something other than luck. No, but I think that finding a partner like Cresta and being able to work collaboratively, it didn't feel like a lot of risk at the time when we were making the move.
Mm-hmm. And Steph, I know you started with chat, but you all have many different chat avenues that could be taken, right? Many different chat use cases. How did you choose the one that you went into, and how do you any insight into how that decision was made?
So we started with sales chat in 2019, and what we were able to do there was recognize, and we used a vendor at the time, so we were able to recognize improvement there from revenue, from concurrent conversations, and then even size of the teams that the supervisors lead, right? And we were able to take that use case and then lift it over into retention chat in 2021. And then in late 23, we launched voice in sales and retention with our new hires. So the use case that we're using with that we're going through right now with our new hires is how do we ramp them up quickly, right? Because we saw that in chat. We were able to shave 2 weeks off of training with the chat program. So can we see those same results over on the voice program with our newest hires in both sales and retention?
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things we've seen across channels like that is Cresta really normalizes like how the operation is run and the data layer, so that some of those differentiations between like chat versus voice, we're on two different call platforms. It's all in Cresta. It all looks the same. You can sort of like look at insights the same, share workflows, share hints, those kinds of things. It takes a lot of those underlying tools, maybe makes them less important, makes their differences less important.
Steph, you talked about using the chat implementation to actually roll into voice. I think that's really interesting. Obviously, it's a totally different mode, but do you find that the concept is similar enough with regards to just agent assist and coaching and supervisor tools that you're able to get buy-in from the rest of the organization, even when it's a different mode of communication?
Yes. We have our chat teams come in and talk to our voice teams, and when they see the tools in full use, when we first started the voice program, they were just blown away. The leaders specifically could not fathom that all of these tools were right at their fingertips, within their desktop, within reach, right? And because that hasn't been our experience on voice. And then we were able to translate a lot of the hints and the call flows and the behaviors, because we want a consistent experience for our customers no matter what channel they're engaging with. So we were able to leverage all of those things when we were standing up our voice program. So now if a customer decides to start with a chat and transition to voice, they're going to have the same experience either direction.
I love that. Were you expecting that reaction from the voice leader when you brought them in to expose them to?
I 100% was expecting it. They were not expecting it. No, absolutely, because I had seen what it did with chat, and I knew that there was just a power that the Cresta product had harnessed that we just hadn't experienced on the voice side yet.
Yeah. Phil, I'll ask you kind of a similar question, just along the lines of this expansion with Cresta, really starting with one use case. How much thought do you put into wanting to prove out value with each use case before rolling it into the next one? Obviously, I know you have plans to have Cresta kind of wall to wall in your group. So tell me about your thinking there.
Yeah, I mean, we started out with a single use case, relatively small team. We saw value there kind of across all service metrics. NPS is up, first call resolution is up. That leads to a reduction in overall call volume. So we saw that goodness, and we've now implemented across tech support and care and retention. And then we recently deployed sales calls, and also chat. So just here in the first quarter.
Wow. You've been busy.
Yes, Cresta's been busy.
Yes. Yeah. Any learnings as you've gone from implementation to implementation?
I think that when we first rolled out Cresta, we were thinking of it, I think everybody probably comes at these problems from one angle. And for us, it was agent assist. We were looking for an agent assist tool. And we certainly got that. I mean, we see the value in that. We're very happy, as I said, with how it's federated across the teams, and we're able to have the operations teams involved in the development of that. But boy, we've seen a lot of benefit in the QA space and in the supervisor space. We're currently rolling out the raised hand feature. That gives our tier 2 support teams, a big lift in terms of how they interact with agents. And so we've seen these benefits in other areas that we weren't necessarily looking for when we initially implemented the platform.
It's a fantastic segue into some of the benefits that maybe you expected and didn't expect.
I've already answered that one.
You have. We'll start with Brian. Brian, so with regards to what were some of the leading indicators for success that you were looking for from Cresta when you did your initial rollout? Obviously, this is new technology, AI, and there's folks entering this space for the first time. They've got a keen eye for are we moving the needle or not? So what were you looking for early on?
Yeah, I think early on we were looking for feedback from our associates because, obviously you got leading indicators that you're going to start looking at, but the very first person is the customer that associate or agent is working with. And whenever they see the value of the product, that was the first thing we looked for. And then, of course, we started looking for other things like concurrency, accuracy. And, CarMax is a little unique because these channels come in, they could be a service question, they could be a sales question, they could be a warranty question. And so they have to field a lot of complex questions, and the platforms really helped us be able to navigate that. And speed of training that you see, we absolutely see that. And most importantly, the accuracy of the answers that they're providing.
Mm-hmm. Can you speak to some of the initial associate response that you got after you started rolling the technology out?
I think the best quote was, please don't take my Cresta away. And that was a quote from one of our agents, because we would ask them, how would you feel if we took the product away? And so, yeah, that was a funny one that sticks in my head.
We all love to hear that. That's a good one. That's a great one. Steph, how about you?
For us, it was the supervisor's engagement and director. So if the supervisors were in using the director tool for coaching, then we know that they're either encouraging or rewarding their agents for using the hints, right? And so that was the piece, because we knew if the supervisors loved it, then all else would flow from there. And that is exactly what we've seen.
That's amazing. So do you rely on, similar to what Brian described, more of the qualitative feedback from supervisors around the tool, or are you actually looking at number of times they're logging in per week to be able to get that signal?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Right, a little bit of both. You want to trust and verify a little bit, right? Just to make sure that if somebody is apprehensive, right, that you're coaching them and encouraging them to, use a tool that's probably a lot easier to use than what they see, or to make sure they're seeing the benefits, right, of it. And so a little bit of both. Primarily their feedback, but occasionally we just go in and make sure that it's getting used and haven't seen that as an issue, but that is a sign if somebody might need a little bit of help in understanding how to really truly leverage the tool to its full potential.
Yeah. And then when you first started partnering with Cresta, that was obviously, I think you said 5 years ago, a long time ago. So you might not remember from the original implementation any of the supervisor reactions, but was there a moment either in that initial implementation or any of the ones that have followed that was like maybe a comment or anything that you've heard from a supervisor or a group of supervisors that let you know this is what I wanted to see, to know that we're moving in the right direction?
Yes. So we started with our new hires, right, with the voice program. And when they come and they say, we don't want to listen to our tenured folks' calls and tools on this other platform, we want it all on Cresta, like that is enough for me to say we're moving in the right direction, right? Because right now they're having to do a little bit of dual as we're implementing, and they want a hard cut. They want everybody on Cresta because they see the positive benefits and the ease of the tool.
What a story. And those new folks are so important to the business, right? I mean, being able to ramp them fast and retain them, of course. That's fantastic.
That's why we started there. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Phil, how about you?
When we initially looked at Cresta in our first use case, we were looking for kind of a simple 10% reduction in minutes per customer in that use case. And what we got was a lot of feedback from agents and supervisors that this is exactly the right tool and that we're moving the right direction. And we got our 10%. So, goodness all the way around.
Great. Well, I want to come back to that 10% because I think that is important. Obviously, we need to have some hard ROI to show for the programs as well. But before I do that, because we were talking about agent adoption, that was a theme across the board. I think there's always these great stories about managers latching on and agents latching on, but there's some reluctance at times too. Agents or supervisors adopting new technology. I've heard the comment of Big Brother, coming up before. Can you speak at all to your experience with, or some techniques that you perhaps use to drive adoption within the contact center at your level, right? And perhaps that's an announcement to the whole group about why you're bringing the technology in, or anything else, and how you deal with the people that maybe aren't adopting at the speed you would like. Brian, I'll start with you.
Sure. So we always look at what the performance is and how we measure all of their performance scorecard, and then we look if they're using the product. And normally, whenever you see inconsistent performance, they're using the product inconsistently. And so we're able to show them the value because they start seeing their performance report in a more consistent, successful, exceptional range than this living in the W's a little bit from a performance perspective. And that's always worked for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's in it for me?
Our operations teams did a great job just sort of reorganizing their entire workflow and organization around Cresta and making it, kind of embedding it in what they do and how they do it. And that buy-in from the supervisors and from the training organization really drove the utilization of Cresta across the organization. They did a great job.
So I would say both of these things. So we've been able to show that engagement in the hints directly correlates to improved conversion rate, right? So to be able to show that to leaders or agents that might be struggling, right, and not engaging with the tool as they should, to be able to show it has a direct connection to your ability to, deliver your results. We also felt it was so important for our supervisors to really engage in the tool and help them with adoption we reinvented a coaching program that we have for our supervisors. We call it Expect Greatness. And so if you expect greatness, you get greatness, right? So we revamped all of that training, the coaching training around the use of the Cresta director and coaching within the tool.
Wow. That's amazing. Can you speak to what happened as you did that revamp or use Cresta as a tool to roll that out, it sounds like?
Yeah. So actually, you guys came and participated with us on it, right? So we not only talked about the behavior of coaching, but we directly connected how your coaching behavior shows up with what's in the tool also, right? So we connected those dots. So it's one thing to say, well, coach in this way, but we said, here's what's in Cresta, right? With that, this is how you coach in that way. And so my team will tell you that their job is to be super coaches. And that was all formed around our Expect Greatness and just how we immersed the Cresta tool into our coaching expectations.
Amazing. So I'll shift gears now back to kind of some of the hard ROI. And Phil, maybe I'll go to you for this first, just because you did mention that 10% that you were looking for. Can you speak to your expectations around the kind of ROI that you would see and specific KPIs that you were hoping to impact, and even the impact that you saw to those KPIs?
I mean, we saw improvements and have seen improvements over the last year across all of our major contact center metrics. Overall call volumes are down. They're down because first call resolution is up. Average call handle time is down. Our retention is the best it's ever been. Sales is new for us, but sales is reporting higher conversion rates. So it's goodness all the way around in terms of our experience with Cresta.
That's good to hear. Steph, how about you?
Wow. So lots. So from early on with our implementation of chat, we saw a 20% improvement in revenue from sales chat. We also saw 2 weeks taken off of our training time. So we were able to get our agents productive faster, right? And of course, that's a great experience for them and a great experience for our customer. And so we're seeing that on voice as well. So we're seeing improvement in a metric that we call net revenue per call. And we are also seeing correlations with handle time. So from our sales conversations, we're seeing handle time come down. Whereas from our retention conversations, we're seeing our handle time go up, but we're also seeing better net revenue per call and saves rates coming out of that group as well.
Amazing. Great. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we saw was the handle time. It dropped significantly for the teams. And of course, that just means that you get ROI on not needing more agents. They're actually to be able to be more efficient and more effective with the team that you have.
Now, Brian, I know CarMax is such an innovative company, right? And you are constantly, trying to find the optimal way that you're working with your customers. And there's additional KPIs that come into play and that you're looking for Cresta to help impact. Are you able to speak to any of those now, or?
Yeah, I mean, the conversion is always something that you want to look for. We can track if we had a chat with a customer and they bought a car from us. And believe it or not, people will buy a car over chat, and because that's the channel that they prefer to stay in. And so, yeah, we look at a lot of those different metrics that flow through from the very first interaction, how many interactions that we have post and pre, because buying a car is not just a linear process. People start and stop, and they a lot of times come back to the same channel over and over, and our agents are able to help them progress to make the best decision for them.
So what I'd love to do now is just, there's a lot of folks maybe watching that haven't had the journey or the experience that you all have had with bringing AI into your businesses. And obviously it's been a long road for everybody, right? A lot of, it's quite a journey, right? And so if you were to maybe in closing summarize any kind of learning that you've had looking back over the last 2 to 5 years of working with Cresta or just bringing technology into your business, like AI technology into your business, what would you say for the folks? Brian, maybe I can start with you.
Yeah, I mean, bringing artificial intelligence into your business absolutely makes it more effective and more efficient with every line of business that you work in. And, one of the things that I've learned the most is Cresta's partnership is so important because they can give you insights. They can help teach you the things that you think that you might not even think is possible. And I've really appreciated the partnership along the way to continue to make the platform better for our teams.
So as more of our business transitions into digital transactions, right, the simple, more repetitive work gets done through automation, right, and through the digital channel, really leaves the complex scenarios for our assisted channels to be able to manage through. And so that was the whole purpose for us seeking out a partner in AI. And one of the things that I love about working with the Cresta team is they get in to understand your business. They want to understand the problems that you're trying to solve. They want to understand what successes, you're aspiring to, or things that you've celebrated along the way. And then through that, come up with innovative solutions, things that if I was just trying to solve it on my own, I'd never come up with. And that, I think, is the magic of our partnership.
I guess I would say, 2 years ago, it felt like the right time to start on this journey. And if we hadn't started then, boy, it sure would feel like the right time now to get going. There are so many opportunities that we've unlocked over the last 2 years with Cresta, but more importantly, the fact that we started moving forward, started gathering the data, started gathering the transcription, just gives us a lot of opportunities to move forward and continue on the journey as we go.
You all spoke about the partnership, and I'll just say from my side and on behalf of Cresta, it's amazing to work with partners such as yourselves as well, right? I think folks that are so aligned with bringing innovation into your company, it makes it really refreshing for us and allows us to be the innovation juggernaut, right? This company that has to innovate quick just to keep up with our super innovative customers. So thank you all so much for being here today. It was a fantastic discussion. And thank you all for attending this webinar today. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. We will answer them live as much as we can. And any that we don't get to, we will follow up with afterwards. But thank you all so much for joining.